Mine is on the Second Amendment. First, I'm a veteran, retired law enforcement. I worked the streets of San Francisco as a parole agent. First off, not one time did I ever arrest a parolee who was a convict, who was a felon. Did the district attorney in San Francisco ever give them the 10 years that they were supposed to get for their violation of the law? Okay, but then I would like to just give you some few statistics for the folks, and you can check these on the internet. They're FBI and CDC. 500,000 people died by tobacco, which Congress supports tobacco farmers.
Not anymore. No more subsidies for tobacco.
Okay, but you did.
I never did, but it's no longer the case.
Okay, 200,000 people die per year from a doctor, a hospital, or a nurse making the wrong decision at the wrong time, okay?
It's 100,000 a year.
Okay, that's still 10 times more than you're going to die by being shot. You're going to 40,000 people are going to die in automobile accidents. 25,000 people are going to die just by falling down. So my question is, right, you know, look into these other things, you know, and 65% of the shooters involved in all homicides with guns are convicts, felons. They shouldn't have had the gun to begin with, and if you put them away like they're supposed to be, you won't have as many people dying. Thank you.
I guess my answer to that is Adam Lanza shot 26 people in Newtown, Connecticut with his mother's gun. He was not an ex-con. While I recognize that convicts or ex-cons are a huge part of the problem, and criminal background checks have got to be a fundamental part of our process.
Wow.
I think you are losing sight of something else if you walk out on me like that.
No, I'm listening.
It is much bigger than just that. And I think we would be foolish if we presume that the only reason why there is gun violence in this country
I didn't say it was the only reason. 65%.
A lot of other people have guns as well.
65% is still felons.
Speier, thank you for holding the comment. I would like your perspective on what you think the possibility of Congress passing climate change legislation that supports research, development, implementation of policies, regulations, programs, and projects that address the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or mitigation. And secondly, because I'm in this field, so I know a lot more about it, adaptation, because as you saw with the superstorm we had, you saw the devastating drought, it's here. And California is going to experience it too, it just hasn't yet. So we do need legislation, and I would like your take on how that's going to happen.
I'm going to be really honest with you. I was thrilled to see the President in his second inaugural, speak about climate change. It's going to be a Herculean effort to get anything through the House right now. It is just the reality. But climate change is here. Your point is well taken. We have got to address it. But until the makeup of the House of Representatives changes, not necessarily that it becomes a majority Democrats, but getting rational people that recognize science.
So I was glad to hear your support of Glass-Steagall, innocence until proven guilty, the drone attacks, the NDAA. But if we look at it from a realistic point of view, there was an amendment on the Dodd-Frank bill to restore Glass-Steagall. The Obama administration shot that amendment down. The drone kill list is Obama. The NDAA was brought up in a court case, the indefinite detention of American citizens. And the Obama administration intervened on that court case to uphold that law. It seems that these stark realities make it very obvious that Obama needs to be impeached for the same reasons that Dick Cheney was impeachable.
What about Congress?
I don't support this.
Yes, thank you for
Thank you for holding the town hall. HR 4310 went down 315 to 107. Mainly the 315 passed with the Republicans. You voted with the Republicans for the NDAA. And you know that goes back to the Magna Carta of 1215, holding somebody indefinite detention, no habeas corpus, not going before a judge. We've had people in this country already that are U.S. citizens, like Jose Padilla, which they turned his brain into mush by holding him for 7 or 8 years. You had a guy named Almari from Bradley University in Illinois, also held over 7 years with indefinite detention, and you voted for that. I know in your December 20th press release, and you got the USS Freedom today, with the different amendments in there, the goodies, so you would vote for the NDAA. But I think you made the wrong move on this, and you should have voted with Nancy Pelosi, with the 107 mainly Democrats, against it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, this is why this business is ugly sometimes. I have voted against the NDAA since I've been in Congress. As many of you know, I have felt very strongly that we've got to address the issue of military sexual trauma. 19,000 men and women are raped every year in the military. Only 13% report the crime, because when they report the crime, they end up being marginalized, slapped with a personality disorder label, and they are involuntarily honorably discharged. I got a number of amendments in relative to military sexual trauma. I got my amendment in on the literal combat ship. I got another amendment in on the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the rewrite, and I made a decision this year to support it because those were very important to me in terms of moving the country forward.
I knew that you were...
What? I mean, what's the truth?
Mrs. Spears, my name is Joyce Heaton, and I'm 91 years old. I am one of the Notch victims, and I'm speaking up on behalf of the Notch people. Now, we have those that were born between 1917 and 1926 were causing this. And we have lots of money there owing to us. And they want to compromise for $5,000. And I'm not in favor of that because we work very hard for our money. And I'm asking you if you could intervene in Congress, wherever it's supposed to be done in our behalf, because there's a few more of us left, and we would like to have the benefits before we all die, because it's only a few of us left.
So let me tell you this. I don't know if what's been negotiated has been in court, or if it's something that you're suggesting through Congress. But let me look into it and see if there's a way that I can't engage and intervene if it's a court settlement that's going on.
Yeah, I think it's there now.
But if it's...
They're trying to get us, if we get a lot of mail, asking us to accept that $5,000.
All right, well, we'll look into it and I'll get back to you. Make sure we have your name and address.
All right, thank you.
You know, this issue reminds me a lot of another bill that I've carried on behalf of Filipino veterans who served in World War II. They were told at the time that if they served, they would get full benefits as an American in the veterans system. And then in 1945, after they had served in World War II, the Rescission Act passed Congress, which repealed their benefits. And I have been very dismayed that our country has not righted that wrong. And I've introduced a bill that basically would give those veterans, many of them the same age as the woman who just spoke. There's a very small universe of these veterans left. Give them the full benefits that they were promised. Every other foreign national that fought in World War II was given full benefits, except for the Filipinos. And I think it's a real dark stain on our history that we haven't remedied that. Yes?
Thank you for taking time to come over here, Speier. My question is, what can we as private citizens do to improve immigration reform coming up?
Well, I think what you can do is communicate with all of us as members of Congress how important it is to you as an individual, to you as an employer if you are. All of that is very helpful to us in terms of making that decision. I've already told you what my position is, but so you don't need to write to anything. Right to other people.
My name is George Robinson. I live in Belmont. And a couple things on the violence issue. You talk about gun violence, but it's really people violence. And if you remove the guns, these violent people are still violent. It'll be knife violence, bat violence. You mentioned Australia. England and Australia both banned guns. And their violence is very high. I have a coworker who happens to be English and is over there now. And every time he comes back, he talks about how they have to bar their doors and windows, that there's youth gangs in the street that are assaulting people, and they're doing it because they know their citizens aren't armed. The same thing I hear from another friend of mine who's in New Zealand and goes to Australia a lot. The violence is still there, the crime is still there, it's just a different tool that's being used. One other thing along those lines that's concerning me. Our own government, the Attorney General's office, the Justice Department, has facilitated the sale of semi-automatic weapons, which you call assault weapons, to the cartels in Mexico in the Fast and Furious program. And the president put a stop to the investigation that Darrell Issa was putting in on that. There's something wrong with that. These are 300 Mexicans were killed, and at least 2 U.S. border agents were killed. And we're just going to bury it. We're just going to bury it like we did the people in Benghazi were buried. And at the same time that's going on, the government last year purchased approximately 1 billion hollow point handgun rounds in 40, 357 SIG, and 9mm. These are rounds that have no purpose other than to kill people with handguns, not military guns. They're not allowed in the military. Your comments?
Okay. I'm going to have Professor answer, and then I will answer.
Just a few points. The claims about countries like Australia and England really miss the point. If you look at the evidence on homicidal violence in these 2 countries, they are a fraction, overall homicidal violence, not just gun violence, they are a fraction of the homicidal violence that we have. They have, of course, almost eliminated the gun violence by getting rid of the guns, but there has been no corresponding increase. We would have a sense of nirvana if we could get the homicide rate of Australia or England. They're doing substantially better than us. So one has to be very careful about making claims. Obviously, you don't get rid of crimes by dealing with the gun problem, but if you can reduce the amount of deaths and the amount of attending injuries, it's not a picnic to avoid being counted in the homicide statistics if you have brain damage or you're paraplegic. So these are very serious problems that other countries, other rich countries, have dealt with far more effectively than we have. We also heard the comment earlier about someone claiming, what if somebody's coming into your house? It's true that if someone's coming into your house and you have a gun in your hand, that might be a benefit for you, although there are cases where the criminal takes the gun and uses it against you. But you have to look holistically. The other rich countries of the world have dealt with the problems of homicide and gun violence far more effectively than the United States has. And we have locked up more people than any other nation in world history. So it's not like we're being soft on crime there. So we have to look at things like the drug problem, the war on drugs, which does contribute, but we also have to deal with the gun problem, which is a serious contributor. People, there are those in the NRA who will say more guns lead to less crime. There's not a shred of statistical support for that belief.
Yes, there is.
But I should have been more careful. There's not a shred of credible statistics.
Let me address alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. And you referenced Fast and Furious. I was on the oversight, am on the oversight and government reform committee that held hearings on that. I thought the ATF was a rogue operation. But Fast and Furious was preceded by another program under the last administration doing exactly the same thing. Now, the problem is ATF has not had an administrator for over 7 years because the Senate won't confirm a new director. I think it has to be held accountable, but you also have to put in the ATF the resources to go after the gun dealers that are not playing by the rules. You've got to go after people who have guns that are prohibited and they are armed. And ATF has had its hands tied by that TR amendment that passed in 2003 and 2004. Up until 2006 or 2007, ATF director was never confirmed by the Senate. That was an amendment that was put into the law because there is an effort by some in the country that want to prevent ATF from doing its job. So, Fast and Furious, bad idea. Wide receiver, under the Bush administration, bad idea. They were using that to try and establish that there were straw purchasers. We know that there are straw purchasers. People with clean records go in, they buy guns, and then they come out and they sell them to people that are criminals that can't pass a criminal background check. But the amendment also provided that you have to establish that the straw purchaser was willful in purchasing those guns and knowing that they were going to then sell them to a third party that would not have been allowed to purchase them. We have really strapped persons, both in the U.S. Attorney's Office, in the DA's office, in ATF, from doing the job that we hired them to do, and that's protect all of us from people who should not have guns, period, and people who sell guns. Why is it that many of these kind of rogue gun dealers just lose guns from their inventory? Why is it AT&F can't come but once a year to investigate, or to inspect, or to demand that they have an inventory of their guns? What happens when 400 guns walk out of a gun dealer's shop? So, it's a much bigger story than what you attempted to develop here. My report.
Hi, my name is Wayne Lawrence, and thank you for being here. I'm concerned about student loans. There's one source on the internet that says it's reached it's a $1 trillion problem right now. And,
it's bigger than credit card debt.
It's my personal feeling. I didn't bring any information from a group of attorneys who had filed a report on it, but I think the problem is stemming from the federal contractors, that is the collection agencies that are dealing with the students. I think they're being very unfair to the students, being very predatory, asking for instance for a student to make 5 payments of $10,000 a piece, just ridiculous kinds of demands on the students. I was wondering if is there anything coming to your attention about that?
Yes, and I think we have to distinguish between the federally funded loan program and privately funded loan programs. Federally funded programs, federally funded programs are different in that we are attempting, and the president has recommended, that persons that have federally funded loans pay no more than 10% of what their income is per year. And if they pay in a timely fashion over the course of, like, it's either 10 or 20 years, at the end of that, the end of 20 years, the rest of their loan will be extinguished because they have paid in a timely fashion for that period of time. The private loans are not subject to that kind of regulation at this point. And you know, there's more work we have to do. I met with a group of San Francisco State students last year in a roundtable discussion. And I expected to go in and have these students tell me that, you know, they've got a lot of debt and it's tough. I walked out of that meeting, it was about an hour and a half. Most of them were in tears. Most of them were in debt way beyond their means. Oftentimes the equivalent of, you know, a mortgage. And we've all done a very bad job of educating them on the amount of debt they have and how they're going to pay it, and giving them the expectations that somehow having a debt as large as some of them had, it's like $150,000, that they were going to be able to pay it over their lifetime. Some of them said, I just know I'm going to die with this debt. And that's a terrible thing to say. So we've got to also bring down the cost of higher education. I'm telling you, it is not sustainable the way
I think it's I've talked to a couple of people. The collection agencies are asking people to lower their payments. I think a lot of people want to make payments, but it's very difficult just to make a payment.
Okay, well, again, that's a private collection, which is different from the federal.
Federal, that's on federal student loans. Like federal contractors calling students.
Well, we'll talk further about it, see what we can do. All right, we're running out of time, I think.
2:45, so if everyone could just quickly ask their questions as quickly and succinctly as possible, that would be very
I don't know that we're going to be able to get to everyone. It's already 15 minutes past our time. So let's say that no more people beyond those who are in line right now.
Yeah.
And let's move through quickly, and I'll answer.
Hello,
Sure.
Congresswoman. My name is Shakira Hamilton. I live in Foster City. First and foremost, I want to thank you.
Quickly, don't take me, just ask me your question.
Okay. Well, okay. Here's my point. Several people have mentioned drugs, alcohol, mentally ill people related to the gun issue, and I just want to say that in other countries, they have the same issues. They have mentally ill people, they have drugs, they have alcohol, and the difference is we have the easy access. And I commend you that you are working on the access point, because why this country is the leading country in the world on gun deaths. And this year, I did not know if you know this, we have caught up with car accident deaths. People who have been shot by guns is equivalent now to car accidents. So we have to do something.
All right, thank you. That was a statement. Yes, next.
My name is Mark Caesar. I'm in your district, and my question, God, there's so many questions I could ask. But first of all, thank you for your service. It seems to me that fundamentally what's wrong with Congress comes down to money and politics, campaign finance reform,
and your question is?
Gerrymandering. My God, what can we do about it, and what can we do about it?
I don't have an answer for you, because the answer really requires constitutional amendment for both those situations, both reapportionment and for a Citizens United decision, or for restriction on the contribution generally beyond what we've done.
So how do we get that done?
It would require introducing it in the House, having it pass the House and Senate, then go to each of the states, and have 3/4 of the states pass it in their state legislature.
So given the state of the House and the state of the Senate, the odds of that happening are around 0?
Yes. Yes. All right. Question?
Yeah, Jack, this is Thomas Miller. As you know, I'm a merchant seaman. I'm also a very avid union member, plus I've been retired from the military, the VA. When is it going to be able, we as union members, I'm going to be getting behind this board, when are we going to ever have the right to really organize it and be able to get the, what they call the Employee-Free Choice Act? Because I'm telling you something, Coke companies, Army want to make this a third world country. I did not serve and wear the uniform of the Army for this country to become a third world country. I'm sick of the Koch brothers. I'm willing to go to the streets and protest. I've already been to 3 or 4 rallies, and I will continue. And I'm a proud member of the Seafarers International Union, because you know I'm a seaman. Thank you for coming to our luncheon.
My name is Edward Algani. I want to thank you for being here with us this afternoon. What are your thoughts on big box retailers moving into San Mateo County, San Francisco County, primarily Walmart?
Well, those are local decisions made by local municipalities, and that's one issue I don't have to deal with. So I'm not going to deal with it.
Hey, Congresswoman Speier. My name is Jenny. Jenny Zhang, come from H&R Foundation. I'm a volunteer. And I'm here just to express our support and also send you an invitation to the Shaving Performance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you've heard of this before. It's from a non-profitable organization in New York. And they travel around the world to try to revive the 5,000 years of civilization of China. You know, it's the novel mission. And, you know, it's a so-down show. They got, you know, so-down Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, some other top vendors in the world.
I saw it at him.
Yeah, they are coming to San Francisco in March.
Okay. So you got your paid announcement, or?
This is something, you know, it's not just beautiful, but also very inspiring, and you know, because they, you know, presents the real universal values. So I really hope that you can make it.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Sylvia Scarpa, and I want to thank you so very much for answering all our questions today. And my concern is related to if the government will speak out against the genocide that is perpetrated in mainland China through executions in labor camps and live organ harvesting on unborn practitioners. So with all my heart, I really hope that Honorable Congresswoman will take a stand to put an end to this crime against humanity.
So
we need to take a stand.
So human rights violations in China come up from time to time, and there are resolutions that are introduced that I have sponsored. Our Secretary of State, our position in terms of negotiating with China on so many issues is colored by the fact that we owe them $1 trillion. And it has really compromised our ability oftentimes to get them to deal with the issues of human rights, piracy, respect for intellectual property, and export, import issues that they violate on a regular basis. So all of that is a very big problem.
My name is Tom Harriman. I teach special education here in the city. I am also an officer with United Educators Local 761. I'd like to let you know that United Educators Local 61, CTA, and NEA have our full support and backing in your attempts to update and ban certain types of weapons and high-capacity magazines. Our goal is safe schools, and more guns in more schools is what this will like treating drug addiction and work. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ching Oswald. I just like to have more facts about the live work and harvesting that's happening in China. And people all know, usually the working trends in the U.S. China, the average wait time is 3 weeks and could be shorter. The reason for that is the prisoners of conscience in the labor camps and the psychiatric hospitals, and the prisoners used as life wardens to support lucrative Chinese government-run life warden harvesting program. China has no systematic active organ donation program, so these people serve as life organ bank. So that means that since 2006, the average 10,000 organ transplantations performed in China. Then you can do the math. That means every single day, thousands of people is killed for organs. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that. Next.
Hi, my name is Susan Arigero, and I'm very concerned about the pattern since President Truman of sending troops all over the world declaring war or waging war. And from my understanding, that's generally a power granted to the legislative branch. Thank you. So what's going on here, and why isn't Congress upset about this?
You know, it's very interesting that if you look at the number of responsibilities that Congress has, it is ceding much of its authority on many issues to the president. And I worry about that just from a macro standpoint. In terms of the war in Afghanistan and the surge, for instance, I mean, I really believe the surge was not a lawful act, and that it should have come to Congress for a vote. It did not.
Why is Congress granting the president more powers that should he have? I mean, they're supposed to be representing us, and so why is that going on?
Well, I can suggest to you what I think the answer is, because there are a majority of members of Congress that want to support the military always and forever, and so there is a reluctance to challenge the president when he does things like the surge without first coming to Congress and asking permission. So
maybe we need a third party.
Well,
apparently, I don't think they're. I know you have a bunch of reputation,
but we do it in many other areas that I think are really important, like oversight is something that we have an authority and responsibility to have oversight over the executive branch, and that's why the committee I serve on I think is so fundamental. And I had a bill, or I had an amendment in the NDA that provided for whistleblower protection for the employees of federal contractors. And the president, when he signed the NDAA, actually did a signing statement on two things. One of them was detention. The other was on whistleblower protection for employees of contractors, which I still mystify about, because how else do we bury raw about if we can't access the person to know about it and don't want retaliation?
Medicare was originally designed to cover everybody, and the fact that it only covers senior citizens was compromised. And all of these problems with Medicare and underfunding everything would not be still a problem if Medicare could be expanded to cover everybody like it was originally intended. And John Conyers has introduced a bill time after time and kept doing it year after year to have it cover everybody. And it seems like right now all the concentration, particularly among Democrats, is to try and just support what the reforms Obama has. But will you move forward with making Medicare for everybody?
I will support putting the Affordable Care Act in operation in a way that is as comprehensive as possible. I mean, I have been supportive of a public option. I have been supportive of universal health insurance, but I'm not going to stand here and suggest to you that we're going to have Medicare for everyone anytime soon.
My name is Herbert Weiner from San Francisco. I'm certainly for all means of gun control, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. In China last week, 24 students were stabbed. We don't know if they're going to be permanently paralyzed. We don't know if they're going to die of wounds. Needless to say, the psychological trauma. Recently in this country, a student named Sawyer Rosenstein was punched in the stomach to the point of being paralyzed for life. Now, I certainly believe in gun control, but I certainly believe the mental health services have to be brought into play. People have been identified as mentally disturbed and they go out and commit acts of violence. Someone opened fire on the Pentagon 2 years ago and was shot to death as a result of it by the Secret Service. So we need to have good mental health services that address this, and there are too few mental health professionals in this country. And it's very difficult to get certified by mental health boards. California is a sterling example of this.
And your question is, or is it a statement?
What are we going to do for a comprehensive approach to violence prevention, which includes addressing the problems of bullying?
Mental health parity is one of the components of the President's reform package, which would basically make sure that all health insurance covered mental health care as well, because not all health insurance does cover mental health care. So mental health parity is one answer. In terms of the licensing of mental health professionals in California, that would be a state issue. In terms of making sure we have greater resources for mental health, we certainly could spend a lot of money providing mental health services in schools to be able to identify these kids when they're young and get them the mental health support that they deserve. Again, it's just money, and we've got to come up with the money to do that.
My main concern is that to keep all federal programs for senior citizens intact and do a lot for them so they don't have to live in poverty when they retire. That's my main concern.
All right. Well, we're doing everything to make sure that seniors don't live in poverty. That's why Medicare and Social Security have been part of that huge safety net.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
In 2009 and 2010, the current president, Speaker Pelosi, and Senator Reid had a supermajority. Our government was in the hands of one party, all of the same mind. In those 2 years, how much money did our country give to other countries? Because I have a real concern about F-16s being given or sold to Egypt at this point. We are talking about money. We have resources for this. Do we have resources for that? We have elderly, and we scare them by withholding their Social Security that is not an entitlement. We all pay into it.
Right.
Those of us that work. I want to know, in 2009 and 2010, when there was a supermajority, how much money did we give to foreign countries?
Okay, I can't give you the exact amount, but as a percentage of the federal budget, it's,
I don't want to know percentage, I want to know dollars. We're talking billions.
Okay, well, I can tell you $3 billion went to Israel, $2 billion.
I don't care about Israel. Israel is a part of our foreign, and I'm Jewish, and I am pro-Israel.
I'm just going down the list for you. The most amount of money we gave to any country was Israel, was $3 billion. We gave $2 billion to Afghanistan. And the amount of money we gave to other countries is in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
So do you think that would cover a few little programs?
Well, it would cover a few little programs, but it also is part of our grand plan for trying to seek democracies around the world and prevent terrorists from overtaking other countries. And I'm just telling you what we've done. But I don't think the argument that somehow we got rid of all our foreign aid, that somehow that would solve our debt or solve our it would. Okay. So it's a very small amount of money in the big scheme of things. Well, I think Egypt's actually paying for those big schools. question still remains, why would we sell them? Well, let me tell you what I think part of the reason why we're selling them is because we're trying to maintain a hospitable relationship with Egypt, because Egypt is so close to Israel, and Egypt has historically been protective of Israel. Egypt has been protective of Israel and has had a treaty with them. So, I mean, there's a lot of elements to that particular sale.
Egypt still has two of our planes that we sold. We built up Egypt for many, many years. Right
Okay.
now it's just a strange time.
All right. All right, last question here and last question there. Okay.
Hi, I'd love to use some information with one of your staff members about your own research, and I hope you take the opportunity to read it. I do have a question. You mentioned that you see value in drones for surveillance, and there's an alarming trend in this country, both on a local, state, and national level, to use drones to survey the American people.
Bad idea.
Including nano drones, those insect-sized drones that can fly in through your window. And I'm wondering if you see any value in that type of surveillance. And do you plan on doing anything about it? Because it's happening everywhere. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on these aircraft.
But it's interesting that you raised that about using it domestically, because on the way here we were talking about how San Mateo County had considered the purchase of a drone by the Sheriff's Department for surveillance purposes, and the argument being that it would be helpful in detecting marijuana fields. And it was disregarded, or it was rejected by the county manager, which I thought was a sound decision. But it's an example of how you take the technology to the point where it becomes incredibly invasive and violates rights of privacy and the like. And I do not support them in the home.
Hi, my name is Roxanne.
I have something I want to say before I leave. I was told to fill a form in the back of it, and I talked to someone in your office yesterday, and they said to bring it up today. May I, before I leave, before you close down?
Sure.
Okay, what it is, I live here, and I live where I am, and I know I'm only more of the people that were here who lived in the neighborhood. I've been in the same house for 53 years, and I was just trying to find out, how can you go about with people renting their houses to students, and they're just back and you cannot even get into your garage, you can't even get into your car, you have to walk a half a block to get into your house. Now how do you go about that? You hate to call them and the people have it towed away for students. You know, a lot of people the elderly people have moved and they're letting their houses be rented to students. So what do you do about that? And I was told to ask.
All right.
Contact the police.
Please.
The worst thing you can do for a student is to take their school away. And that's what will happen. You can call me personally on the...
I call and have it told or have it...
No, well, you can do that as well, but the issue is this. The best way to take care of the students is to contact the dean at the schools, identify where they go to school.
I don't know the people.
I know you don't, but I can find out who they are.
I'm 83 years old.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you my card after this.
I'll
I'll give you my card after this and we'll talk, okay?
Okay, I'll talk to you about that.
There is an opportunity if you become handicapped or...
I am.
All right, well, oftentimes, can't they also paint the third?
Yes, I do. That's what I was about to get to.
All right.
I have to pay for this. I have that one. Across from me, there are 4 students, and yesterday when I was going to Kaiser, I couldn't even go. I had to call downtown, and they finally sent a police, and they says, oh, well, she ought to move her car. No, I'm handicapped. I'm in my late 80s. I can't even go to the doctor because
All right.
I couldn't get out. What happened? They gave him a ticket. Well, why should I get a ticket? And this happens all the time.
All right, you're going to talk with the sergeant. We're going to see if we can resolve your problem, okay? All right.
Hi, I'm Roxanne. You made the comment about climate change. I certainly agree that climate change is happening since the last ice age. What I don't agree with, most respectfully, is whether the government should be regulating my life and businesses and of that nature. My question is, can you concede that your opponents may have a rational reason for not wanting the government to regulate their life? Because you made the comment that you're waiting to change, you're waiting to tackle climate change in Congress when you get a rational Congress, when people who are more rational are there. This is an important issue, and I respect you, Congresswoman. It takes a lot of guts to come up here and listen to people like me ask you questions, opportune questions like this. But it's important. There's reason on both sides of the aisle that yes, the climate is changing, but it's changing because of the sun. That's a lot of scientific research has been. It's not man that's causing it, but irregardless, it's changing. Should the government be the one telling us how to deal with it, or are people able on their own to have their own reason? And I mean, people don't live at the equator. They don't live in Antarctica for a reason. It's not pleasant there. So my point is, my main question is to you: can you concede that your opponents may have reason on their side? Also.
Oh, well, I mean, my opponents have reason to have a different opinion.
Sure.
And
it's not irrational to disagree.
No, it's not irrational to disagree. But it's like if people, I mean, when people say that there is no climate change, when the documentation is so clear and overwhelming, even by those who had opposed it before, who now recognize that it exists, I mean, at some point, you may not want to support climate change regulation. You may not want to support a cap and trade, but whether you choose to support that or not is one thing. Whether you recognize that climate change is occurring is another. So it's just how you're going to address the fact that climate change is happening. Some people deny that it's happening. Some people deny there's evolution.
I have not heard anyone deny this.
Oh, I'll give you some commentary on the House floor. Okay? All right. Thank you. Last question, right here.
Hi, my name is Aubrey Friedman. I'm just wondering, when Obama was elected as president, he said he would leave California alone with medical dispensaries because California has medical marijuana. It's legal. I want to know, why is the federal government cracking down and closing down the medical dispensaries for marijuana? They're legitimate. They've gone through, done all the rules and everything you have to follow. And why is this? Do you support this? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think we have more important things to do than shutting down medical dispensaries. Having said that, the U.S. Attorney is empowered to enforce the laws, to bring actions that are not complying with federal law. State law is trumped by federal law, and so that's the problem. Now, I recently had a conversation with the U.S. Attorney here in this region, who is very interested in focusing on gun safety. So maybe there's going to be a shift in emphasis now. I don't know. But direction is given by the federal government to the U.S. attorneys in all the regions, and that's how they take their orders from on high, and federal law does trump state law.
Well, how do you see it?
I support, I would legalize drugs in this country, frankly. I think we got that. All right, we have spent 45 minutes more than was allotted, so I want you to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the church for allowing us to overstay our welcome, and thank you all for coming and being part of this town hall. You've all been very respectful of each other, and I really appreciate it.
I also want to thank Speier and her staff and all of you for coming here today. We hope that you come back and share all this information, and for all of you, please enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
And we can thank our experts.